Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Verge podcast. I am your host, Virgil Edwards. As always, the purpose of this podcast is to keep you from the brink of ignorance and on the verge of intelligence when it comes to the politics that affects us all in America today. Today is November 7th, 2018. We are just 24 hours after the 2018 midterm elections. And if we are to say that the midterm elections was an earthquake, then the events of today are pretty hefty aftershocks. So let's get right into it. Today, during a press conference, CNN's resident crybaby, Jim Acosta, was once again acting in a very nasty and very unprofessional manner. And he was told by President Trump once again that his time was up. And a White House employee was asked to go grab the microphone from Acosta. So this woman, doing her job, comes up to Acosta, tries to grab the microphone. And not only does he not hand over the microphone, but he practically assaults her by pushing her away. You know, if that had been a Fox News employee that did that, he would have been charged that day with assault and battery. CNN would have a 24 or 48 hour panel on this Fox News employee. But no, because it's a CNN employee, and because it's an employee that has spent the entire time that President Trump has been in office making each press conference about him, each opportunity he's had to get around President Trump, he's had to make the story about him. Really nasty, disgusting human being. And as a result of today's actions, he has had his press pass suspended. And rightfully so. I mean, this is disgusting behavior beyond the pale. And it's about time that his press pass got revoked. I mean, yes, we have the freedom of the press in this country. But that doesn't give any member of the press the right to act ugly, the right to act like a spoiled, rotten child, the right to dominate the time the press pool has with the president or the press secretary. The only thing that the freedom of the press gives them is the right to attempt to ask questions. The opportunity to ask questions. Nothing in the First Amendment language of the freedom of the press says that people have to answer them. Not one single iota of the First Amendment says that the press is entitled to answers. It doesn't say that the press can harass you if they don't like the answer they are given. It says that they have the right to ask questions and not be thrown in jail for asking questions. To investigate stories as long as they don't break the law without being thrown in jail. And what Acosta did today could easily be construed as breaking the law. You know, we sit here day in and day out, and we see how our local media, newspapers, legacy media, have, over the last 2 years, congealed into this massive anti-Trump mob. There's that word again, mob. Liberal mob. This collective of hate. This collective of disdain. You know, from 2009 until 2016, when President Obama was in office, they were on their knees, giving journalistic fellatio to number 44. I mean, softballing him questions, fawning over him like he was Jesus Christ himself. But all of a sudden, Trump becomes president. Their queen, Hillary Clinton, loses. They lose their minds. Flat out lose their minds. And they have just acted ugly ever since. Acosta, in particular. Being a CNN employee does not entitle Jim Acosta or anyone else to act ugly, to be confrontational to the point where today's incident happened. You know, the media loves to say, oh, Trump is too hot-headed. He's, you know, he doesn't have the temperament to be president. Well, you know what? You need to have the proper temperament to be a journalist. To know when to accept the answers you've been given and walk away. If you don't have to like the answer. And if you want to pursue other answers, fine. But you can't be ugly about it. You can't be assaulting about it. And that's what Jim Acosta was. And it's a good thing that his press pass has been suspended. Now maybe we can have some press conferences where he isn't trying to be the center stage. Where he isn't trying to be the story. But enough about him. You know what else is in the news today? Attorney General Jeff Sessions. He has resigned today. Of course, the fake news media is trying to spin this as if President Trump has fired him. This is just simply untrue. Jeff Sessions, on his own free will, tendered his resignation. Turned in his letter of resignation to President Trump. And he accepted. The fake news media has to spin this as President Trump firing him, so that supposedly someone could be put in his place that will immediately fire Robert Mueller. You think President Trump is that dumb? I mean, I'm sorry, but the president has the authority to end Mueller's investigation. If he wanted. I mean, for 2 years, this farce over so-called Russian collusion has been going on long enough. And he could have ended it at any point in time. But why hasn't he? Well, precisely because he would be accused by the fake news media and the Democrats of trying to cover up crimes that they can't even get evidence on that ever happened. You know, and you talk to any of these liberals about this, and they're like, what about all those Benghazi investigations, huh? Well, you know, here's the thing. Benghazi happened. 4 Americans died. Hillary Clinton admitted to failing to do her job. She admitted to failing to read the security cables that were from Ambassador Stevens in the days and weeks that came before September 11th, 2012. Failed to read the security cables that pleaded for help, pleaded for more security. And you know what? Response teams were given a stand-down order. Who could have given that? It wasn't Republicans. But here's the thing. She admitted that, but yet we didn't have an attorney general then, or an FBI head, or for that matter, anyone in Congress in that position with the stones willing to prosecute. And that was wasted money. That was wasted time. But to say that, oh, we should have this Mueller investigation go as long as it takes, multiple investigations, and then compare that to Benghazi, that's an insult. Not only to the lives and the legacy of those 4 Americans that died, but to their friends and family that still live on today. And I won't let them get away with comparing them that way. Sorry, but it's the truth. It happened. 4 Americans died. And yes, even though the time ended up being a waste, we got answers. And you know what? The American people got answers. And handed down their own justice to Hillary Clinton by denying her the prize that she worked her entire life for. And that was to be the first female president of the United States. I mean, it's not jail, but she's never going to be in the White House. She's never going to be president. And that'll have to do for now. And as we close out this particular podcast, I just want to tell everyone that in 2020, there's going to be lots of new faces in politics. And we each, voters, have the responsibility to make sure that we are electing our own. Not wealthy elitists, not well-connected people, but electing our own to government. Because our own knows what it's like to live under the taxation of the unruly government. We know what it's like to live under the heavy, burdensome regulations. We know what it's like to have to deal with all the debt. We have to elect our own. And until next time, this is The Verge Podcast.